Hello, welcome to the Wealth Transfer News, global economics, biblical principles, but more importantly, protecting and preserving your family's wealth. I'm Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, along with Dr. Charles Vance. Good evening, Charles.
Good evening. Certainly glad that you folks are along today. I hope you'll stay around for the next little bit. Last week, Terry, we got into a hornet's nest, if you will.
When it comes to understanding what took place, yes.
We started talking about the Deutsche Bank,
Yes.
Bank of Germany, which people need to realize it's the same thing as the Federal Reserve Bank in America.
Well, not exactly. Germany's under the European umbrella. And so they have the ECB, which is European Central Bank. Deutsche Bank just happens to be as JP Morgan is in America or Wells Fargo.
Okay.
They're one of the biggest banks in Germany, and because they're the biggest bank in Germany, they're, of course, important to the German economy. Being that Germany is the largest economy in Europe, wherever Germany goes, so Europe goes. And unfortunately, gosh, we shouldn't be laughing over this. So Europe goes, the United States goes. So the reason this was big on Germany, if many of you have not, I would encourage you, next to the language, unfortunately, I would encourage you to watch the movie The Big Short. And it's a phenomenal documentary, but it's actually a real movie about what happened in 2008 and why the market system collapsed. And the bottom line is there was a big short position placed on the housing market derivatives. And what is a short position really? It's just a bet that something's going down. And some brilliant mathematician hedge fund guys calculated that the entire mortgage industry was fake. And we were giving loans to people who couldn't afford them. And there were really bad mortgages from people who really couldn't afford the mortgage in the first place in these baskets of derivatives.
And in addition to that, they were inflating the prices of the homes.
Yeah, well, of course.
So the value, the equity that was in the loan or supposedly in the loan really wasn't there.
It really wasn't there. And so the short position came on, and that short position was that short position created a profit. Well, I won't get into too many details. Unfortunately, we really could, but we just don't have the time. That short position was placed, and these gentlemen got severely wealthy. But what they were trying to do was outline to the U.S. authorities why this happened in the first place. And to this day, they never contacted them to understand the algorithms and what was really going on in the collateralized debt area. Now, all of this said, Deutsche Bank was the one who issued the short positions. So Deutsche Bank made a fortune when this collapsed, and they only really sold off and recouped a portion of those. And they made a lot of money, Deutsche Bank. The major chunk of those shorts that they sold are still active today. They were created in 2005, and they were activated until 2035. They were 30-year note papers. So people are saying, well, why would they do that? Why didn't they cash out? Well, these derivatives that they created for these shorts that took the whole housing market down, that collapsed our U.S. economy, created a depression in a way we've never seen, and put us trillions in the hole. They created these derivatives that became cash, like currency. They were able to put them in the market as a form of collateral, and to this day, they're providing liquidity. Now, as a quote in the book about The Big Short, how did that go? They were feeding the liquidity of the market system. They kept them open to feed the monster. And if you understood the whole Western financial system, it is a gigantic monster. It has no truth or reason or a validity to it. There's nothing sound. Our financial system's broken. We're going to get in a few weeks and really show some great video and details on what Keynesian economics is and why our system is collapsing. So Deutsche Bank was the one who issued these shorts. And so all of a sudden they get caught manipulating all these rates, got caught manipulating the gold and silver prices. Our Justice Department hits them with a $14 billion fine. Well, interestingly, they backed off that fine. Deutsche Bank's on the verge of collapse. And so here they're hitting them with this fine. They're on the verge of collapse. Why would they hit them with a fine on the verge of collapse? Maybe to reckon with some of those short positions. I just don't know. But all I do know is this. Deutsche Bank is in such severe trouble, that if they were to collapse, the whole European economy collapses. Thus, the American banking system collapses again. Worse than 2008 on steroids. But I can only tell you, it's razor thin in staying alive. Because it's not just Deutsche Bank. Take a look at this chart here. This is a chart of Deutsche Bank and Lehman. Many of you probably, hopefully remember, Lehman Brothers was the institution that we used as the scapegoat for the 2008 market collapse. Lehman was about a 140-year-old financial institution, and they went out. Of course, Bear Stearns, Wachovia, all sorts of other institutions did as well. But look at the parallel of this chart. It's very interesting because if you notice, Deutsche Bank is the dark line, and then Lehman Brothers is the red. You notice how they paralleled each other? Deutsche Bank is following the same path that Lehman followed before the collapse. This is fascinating stuff. You can't make this up. Deutsche Bank is so broke and in such severe trouble, they're literally on the verge. They should be collapsing. They're playing funny shell games right now, but they're on the verge of collapse. So here you had the Greeks starting, and now the biggest, most important bank in Europe is on the verge of collapse. Now, they're Germany's most important bank. Why are they? I can give you no more picture than this one. The red is their derivative position. Yellow is Germany's GDP, what they produce. Obviously, they have derivatives so huge, if this collapses, those derivatives start going down, the whole financial system collapses. And so you have to understand a derivative merely is, if you have a question about it, a derivative merely is something that gets its value from something else. So it's an instrument being sold, but it doesn't have any value. It gets its value by other things that are put into it. And so it's a fascinating thing of smoke and mirrors in what Bible would say dishonest weight and measure.
Is it fair to say that a bank this big that has had this much assets could only go down because of too much betting on something?
Yes.
Or too much greed?
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I like the word bet because that's what that picture is. That red circle is the tune of their bet. They hold about 55 trillion euro in derivatives. That's enormous. That's all bets.
The derivatives are a bet for a future.
A bet of. We'll get into that.
Okay.
It's a bet of what? Yeah, it's a bets. But the point is, it's 55 trillion.
But the bottom line is, it's not something tangible or solid.
Right.
By any means.
By any means. And their economy isn't even close when you see the yellow. It's just a handful of trillion.
Sure.
So they're not even close. So the bank, it goes down, their whole economy collapses. Why is that vital to us? Well, it's not just Germany, mind you. There's more to this in Europe. And it's important to understand again, remember, as Europe goes, so will America, because we all are intertwined like a fine woven cotton shirt in the banking system. The Western world is in a lot of trouble. The next bank on the hook, Barclays. Barclays Bank is the English bank. So Barclays got caught just a couple years ago rigging interest rates, lying about the fix of interest rates. You probably didn't even hear about it, but not only did they get caught, they got levied a serious fine for doing this. Now, it was highly corrupt is what it was.
In the sense of what? What did they do with interest rates that made something illegal?
Well, interest rates, they were setting the fix of interest rates, but selling and doing things behind the scenes. So if it's like, I'll give you an interest rate of 3%, but it was really only 2%.
Ooh.
So it's just lies.
Sure.
And Barclays is the largest bank of England, and many of those that love the conspiracy of the Illuminati is Bank of Rothschilds and them. This is all gets real thick and stuff. So, but it's not just the English bank. Oh, there's more to it. So I tell you what, the best thing you could do is get an education. And in the education, you got to get started somewhere. and you need tangible assets to protect you against this fiat system as it gets ready to collapse. And it's not a matter of, I know people have been saying this for a few years. It's close enough because they keep moving the shells around, but it has to. And we're going to see it soon enough. So please be educated and get an education now. Starting here.
Are you concerned about the security of your financial future? Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you prepare for the extraordinary times ahead by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. At Cornerstone, the protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. Take control of your future by registering on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or call us toll-free at 888-747-3309. Call now, 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.
People that are well off are not people that have stacks and stacks of cash sitting around that they've invested all of their earnings, and they've taken their profits and they put their cash under their blanket or their pillow or put it in a vault somewhere. They are people that have invested in something that is tangible. That's why we really want to just encourage you to make sure you invest your hard-earned money. If you have retirement, make sure you invest it in something that's tangible, something that it's not going to fall apart when the economy starts moving and shifting. It's just very important for you, and we're really concerned about that. I told Terry this evening, I picked him up at the airport, we were bringing him in for some recording, and I said, you know, we had you on our show originally several years ago for the purpose of helping educate people. Wasn't any ulterior motive. We just wanted people to understand that we're watching our television show, Empowered. We wanted them to understand how serious the economy is and things that they could do to protect themselves from the system that is operating, the currency system that is operating in the world, in the government, of course, wherever you are, U.S. Especially. We want you to be prepared. And that's what this program is all about, is you getting prepared so that you don't find yourself in a situation saying, I should have, I could have, I wish I would have. We don't want you to do that. We want you to go ahead and make a move now. Terry, you've used illustrations over and over again many times of how that if people had invested in silver or gold, how much more well off they would be today.
Yes.
I want to tell people that this is not a get rich quick scheme. That's not what this is about. This is about getting what you've worked hard for, invested in something that's not going to deteriorate in value when a currency system begins to fluctuate even more than it is right now.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because I like to go back to the moment of 9/11. 9/11 was the turning point, by the way, in our nation. At the period of 9/11, if you just $250,000 in an IRA would have been worth over $1 million today. And so many of you ask yourselves
that's in silver or gold?
Silver.
In silver.
And you know, many of you ask yourself this question. Those that had $250,000 in an IRA, and you can do the numbers if the number is different. I'm just giving an example because we see a lot of $250,000 IRAs. If you had the $250,000 in the IRA at 9/11 and you were in silver since then, is your $250,000 worth $1 million plus right now? No. Maybe it's worth $250,000, maybe 300, even 400,000. Who knows? But not $1 million, you see. And if you had that in silver all this time in a precious metals IRA, right now today it's worth over $1 million. Let alone where silver's going.
So it's increased four times.
Oh, it's increased 4 times. Absolutely.
Just in that short period of time.
Yes.
Now again, see, I want to caution people. This is not a get rich quick. This is not like playing the lottery.
Yeah, but that's a significant difference.
But I'm just saying.
That's 15 years. Your 250 is $1 million.
And I'm well aware of that, and we want people to be aware of that. But I also want people not to have false ideas or thinking that I'm going to buy silver and tomorrow it's going to be worth so much more money that I can cash it in and I'll be rich overnight.
No,
That's not what this is about.
I agree. And the thing is, it's about protecting and preserving your retirement.
Yes.
So when this reset takes place, we have finances to support the kingdom, an inheritance for our children's children. Because it's not just Deutsche Bank, Barclays. The big one now is Italy. The Bank of Italy is in serious trouble. They have on average, well, we're anticipating anyway, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of non-performing loans. So now Deutsche Bank has a big derivative problem. Barclays just got caught manipulating all the numbers. The reason we're outlining this, they're so criminally corrupt in the banking system.
How do they get away with that?
Well, because they run the government. Okay. You see, they finance it.
Now they don't literally run the government, but they finance.
They
the
finance
government.
it. So a politician's no good without money,
gotcha.
Right? Because they use money to feed the people these services so they can stay in power. But we are in such trouble in the Western world. All these banks keep getting caught doing these really serious violations of law. Problem is, they were breaking the law. Deutsche Bank has derivative issues. They're on the verge of an insolvency right now, today, as we speak. Italy has hundreds of billions in non-performing loans, and they don't have close to the money to take care of that. Now, why is that important? Nobody in Europe can bail that out. That's the whole point. Nobody can fix it. And what's a non-performing loan?
Who can bail that out? I mean,
Nobody.
Seriously, nobody can bail it out. So if it collapses, it just collapses.
Yes.
So what kind of results is that going to have in Italy?
The Italian bank goes down, the German goes down, the Spanish goes down, the French goes down, the Americans go down.
But because they're all connected to buying each other's bonds, is that
and
right?
Derivatives.
Okay.
So, for instance, an American bank has a derivative on the Italian bank, and maybe they sold the Italian bank the insurance so they insured their bonds. So if the Italians go down, then the American bank will lose hundreds of billions and trillions too. So it's real bad because it's no different than when you see a spider web and then you take a stick and you flick it at the spider web and it takes all those layers away immediately. That's what happens in the banking system in the West. Now, the Italians' non-performing loans is if you went to the bank and got a loan for $50,000 for a car and then you walked away from the loan and didn't pay it anymore, that's non-performing, means it's bad debt. And they have literally $1 trillion. They're $1 trillion in trouble. Nobody has the money to bail that out. So that's just Italy, mind you.
Is the Bank of Italy like a federal
No.
a federal bank?
No.
It's just like Chase Bank or
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that. It's just a large bank.
Just
in
a
Italy.
large bank, but it's of Italy.
Sure.
So you have the Italian banks, the German banks, all in serious trouble. They're on the verge of collapse. So here they were talking about Greece. We thought Greece was a problem a few years ago. Italians are Greeks on steroids. And the real surprise was Deutsche Bank.
No.
And they keep thinking if Deutsche Bank goes down, oh, we can survive. But I think you'll be quite surprised how it all blows up together.
Now, if those banks go down and it creates a domino effect, the people that have money in those banks are going to be lined up at the bank.
They've already done that, by the way. Now, I haven't shown it.
They've done a run on the bank?
Yes, and I haven't shown it, and I didn't want to get into it, but I will say this real quick. There has already been some of the smaller Italian banks that had bank holidays. They pulled exactly what we've been trying to tell people is out there, known as a, what do we call it?
A run on the bank?
No, it's not the run on the bank.
Nope.
They have a bank bail-in provision.
Oh, okay.
The laws that they passed back in 2011 is known as bank bail-in. They said instead of bailing out the banks anymore, the governments, the banks are going to take a portion of every deposit holder's money. Now, this is in the laws all around the world now. They passed this secretly when no one was paying attention after the collapse.
In the U.S., too. People need to know.
It was in the Dodd-Frank 2011 law, meaning your money in the bank isn't yours. You have to understand when your money is in a bank, it's not yours anymore. When you go to the bank, now we think it is. I go to work, I have my retirement, it's in a brokerage, it's in a bond or a stock, or it's in cash in the bank. It's not yours. The law has stated when you earn this and put it to the bank or a brokerage, why do you think they pay you a form of interest? Now, albeit right now, it's almost nothing. Because when you give the money to the bank or brokerage, you've given them a loan. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the law. You have given the bank a loan, and in turn, they're saying, okay, we'll pay you back. Now, there are trillions in the hole in these derivatives, so they can't pay all those loans back, meaning your money's not yours.
So they can default on
yes.
the loan, basically, is what that means.
Correct.
And they can keep all of your money or part of your money.
What's going to happen in a bail-in, and get back to Italy, they've had the bail-ins. And a couple small banks, and you're not hearing about this, but see, in my analysis and things I do, I have to. And there's stories after stories. One gentleman in particular, for instance, the bank basically shuts the door, and if you have $100,000, they take $40,000-$50,000 of it because the bank needs to get bailed out. And that was this guy's retirement money. And all of a sudden, he couldn't afford to retire anymore, and he was too old to get a job. So he hung himself. There are so many stories all over Italy of suicides and despair because bail-ins have already happened in small banks, and these people, all of a sudden, their retirement savings is gone, and now they don't have the money to live like they were supposed to. This is serious stuff when we talk about bail-ins. So it's already happened in Italy. What I'm contending, what's happening in Europe all over, they're this close. Right now, they're just doing it in small little areas. When the system really falls, which is probably sooner than later, all that stuff goes down. And what you think you have in savings isn't yours. And that's why I think a lot of my clients, they say, I'd rather have something real in the vault that's tangible, that I don't care. No one can go out of business. A bank doesn't go out of business. Managers, companies, stocks, and bonds don't go down because this is yours and only yours. It's not attached to anyone. And ironically, it's been the best place you could be your entire life if you were storing for retirement. But those, and as my client would say, and numerous people have said this, I'd rather store something real in a vault than something that's a digit in the cosmos. Because when you put this in a bank, it becomes a digit on a piece of paper in a computer screen. But they don't have it. So for every $1,000 you put in the bank, they loan out $25,000. So it's dangerous. So the point being, Europe is in this mess. And as Europe goes, so will America. And we're trying to get this across because I think Americans in the end, they're very impatient people. Charles is good at outlining that, we want this quick fix. We want quick bucks, quick profits. And you hear all your brokers, quarterly profits, quarterly annual results. What's your ROI for the quarter? This is ridiculous. I've had financial advisors try so hard to beat me up on silver. Well, what's the ROI? I see that it lost this last year and it's been down. And I said, really? In the last X amount of years, go back just to 9/11, where are you at? Where are you at just 10 years ago? I'm up 200%. They can't touch it. In the end of the day, it's been the best performing asset in the last 10 years, 15 years, silver.
No,
the best.
Terry, I think people should know that you actually worked in that business before you got into this business. So you know what's going on in that bond business, the stock business.
I was a financial advisor at A.G. Edwards briefly. And I had a Series 7, 3 in commodities, 63, 65. I am an accredited asset management specialist. But the reason I walked away from that is I realized real tangible assets, we the people were getting smoke and mirrored, ripped off on our buying power for the future. I just wish I would have noticed this earlier on in my life, or my parents would have taught me. Because if we always would have been in constitutional money, which is silver, biblical money, which is silver, we'd be infinitely wealthier as a kingdom and as a family and individual. And I know going forward this doesn't change, you see, because the demand for silver industrially is unbelievable, and it's only a finite supply. So we have to understand, people say, if it's all Europe and all Europe's going down, there's all these problems with Europe, why are you showing images of the end of the dollar? If the euro currency is going down, why are you saying it's the end of the dollar? Well, look at this one. This is why. Because as we started weeks ago, the Chinese Yuan, remember, put this in the big picture as we connect these dots. China, Russia. The Chinese currency has been made a reserve currency in the IMF basket of reserve currencies. come October 1st, this past October. They are now a reserve currency, and there are phenomenal moves I'm seeing in the currency market of collapsing currency prices, even on the English pound. And I know it's the Chinese in the underlying because it's happening in Asia. Why are they doing this? They're going to grow as a dominant reserve currency in the future. And they and Russia are the attack dogs on the dollars, not just dominance in the petrodollar area, which is tied to our standard of living. Because remember, if they don't want our dollars and they don't buy our debt anymore, somebody has to. Or else we got to cut severely our government programs, and our standard of living is, you think it's bad now, wait until you see that happen. So the point is, this is real. The end of the dollar is because the Chinese and the Russians are taking it down. And part of the package that Cornerstone sends out, which is also on the website in areas, part of that package talks about the nails in the coffin of the dollar and gives examples as to what's taking place, real information as to what's taking place, as to why we need to get protected. Again, most Americans, they just are looking short term. They're listening to their advisors. And I have won over every advisor in most of these people's retired lives. I have the facts. I'm not emotional. Silver is the best asset, and it will be the best asset in the future. They can say all they want. The math is the math. Your $250,000 15 years ago is worth over $1 million today. And no one in the stock market or bond market can say that, or annuity for that matter, right? So this is vital. And we're going to get into more of this later on. We're going to get more into this next week. We're going to give you a lot more explanation on what the derivative means and how it's going to impact the whole Western economy. So God bless you. Be wisdom and understanding to you.
Get on the website and register or call the toll-free number. We'll connect up with you, help you all that we can. Join us next week, same place, same time for the Wealth Transfer News. See you then.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those of you who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you who have cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call our toll-free number or register on our website now.